And to other stories, the head of operations at the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mohammed Umar, has resumed duties as the acting chairman of the agency, pending the outcome of the ongoing investigation of Ibrahim Magu, who is undergoing interrogation by a presidential panel. Umar, who is the deputy commissioner of police, is the second most senior operative at the commission. Meanwhile, it has emerged that Mr. Magu's travails are about to get worse, with the police high command insisting that it is against its service rule for him to be under investigation and still function in office. For a second night, Ibrahim Magu has remained in the custody of the Police Force Criminal Investigation Department in Abuja as part of the investigation on him. His house in the Karo area of Abuja and his official residence in Maitama have been thoroughly searched by security operatives. Now, joining us now to talk some more on this is public affairs analyst Achike Chude. Achike, a lot has happened in the last 48 hours in the life of Ibrahim Magu. Can you confirm to us what were his missteps and what has been his offenses till this very moment?
Well, obviously he fell out with certain powerful elements within the political hierarchy of the country. Essentially, the man that has been in the forefront of the battle to get him removed and probed is no other than the Minister of Justice and the Attorney General, Malami himself. In fact, the disagreement has been in the public space for quite some time. For a few weeks right now, he has been insisting that Magu has abused his office in so many ways, and that accused him of so many things, one of which is that monies declared from proceeds of corrupt activities are underdeclared, and that these monies are declared and the sum get into the wrong places. Then there is the issue of insubordination, the other sundry accusations of ownership of properties all over the place, especially in Dubai. And then so these are essentially the accusations about him. And again, they are not, Malami doesn't seem to be very happy about the way the prosecution of former Minister of Petroleum, Alison Desiani, has, the way it has gone. He believes that somehow Magu messed it up, and that Desiani should have been extradited to the country a long time now. And then, of course, there is the issue of his ostentatious lifestyle and the way he has gone about doing a few things. But I think the major criticism about Magu is that of corruption, and that is the fact that recovered assets of the EFCC are sold to cronies, and that monies are not exactly accounted for. And what is remitted to the central bank, to the Nigerian government through the CBN, is not consistent with what has been declared. So these are the issues against him.
Indeed. It has been described as power play by some, moral disaster for the administration by others, and there are those who say this shows just how serious this administration is and the length it will go in the antigraft war. What is your interpretation of what is happening, and what impact or effect does it have on the antigraft war of this administration as a cardinal promise to the Nigerian people, if any at all?
Well, there are those whom I want to make the argument that it shows how serious the government is in terms of their fight against corruption, if the anti-corruption czar himself is now under probe for corrupt activities. But any way you look at it, it is bad for the government. It is a public relations disaster. Because this is not just a Magu issue. There is the other side of the coin, and that is the fact that the Attorney General is accused of interfering with investigations. There is a speculation that there are certain investigations he would not want to see the light of day because there are certain people that he has vested interest in. And so he tries his best to ensure that some of these investigations are not concluded, that he asks for files for some of these people to be given to him for the purpose of killing this investigation. That these are some of the accusations against Malami. But either way it goes, The reality is that there are two principal officers responsible for fighting corruption in this country, aside from the president, and these are the Attorney General and Minister of Justice that has a supervisory or superintending responsibility over the EFCC, and then the chairman of the EFCC himself, Magu. So if these two principal people are busy hauling corruption allegations against one another, it simply tells you that it simply undermines in very strong terms the anti-corruption posture of the government. There's a possibility that both of them have evidence against one another, but the person that is at the receiving end right now is Ibrahim Magu. And so it is not, it does not bode well for the government. It rubbishes to a very, very large extent everything that they have done about fighting corruption in the country.
All right, Achike, we've seen infightings in this government. This is not the first, and maybe this might not be the last. But looking at it closely, a lot of people have questioned the fact that so much of what is happening and this particular inquiry is done in secrecy or is not being brought out to the open in the principle of fairness, so to speak. Do you think that Ibrahim Magu is being given fair hearing and the facts of the matter are not being twisted, like you've almost alluded to favor one party over the other?
Well, I'm not sure that the facts exactly are being twisted. I want to believe that for the Attorney General and those behind him, I'm sure there are other people behind him. I agree that there is some kind of power play, but I want to believe that the stakes are so high that you would not expect that he will go all this way to throw brickbats in the public space before now, long before now, for them to come up, for him to come up with the short end of the stick, only for them to be unable to prove any single allegation against Magu. It is going to be a major disaster for Malami. There is no doubt. I mean, if that is the case. So I think that they had done their work before now. They had built up a body of evidence against Magu. And these are the things that we're seeing. Of course, there's always this speculation about perhaps people wanting to tamper with or build up evidence illegitimately against Magu. But the reality is that ultimately, at the end of the day, even if this issue is not made in the open to the public, which I think it should, because the battle has been taking place has been going on in the public space. But even if that is not the case, and Magu feels cheated by what has happened, and he feels that his reputation has been unnecessarily solid, and destroyed, then I think he has the right to take the matter to the court, so that the judiciary can actually intervene to look for a way to redeem his reputation. So that is the way I see it. But again, the whole of this happening tells you about the dysfunctionality that is going on in the present government. Do not forget again that long before now, the 8th Senate, Magu's name had been sent to the 8th Senate for confirmation. It was turned down. It was sent again eventually by the president, who insisted on Magu as chairman of the EFCC. The Senate turned it down, citing a security report from the DSS that also sent a conflicting report to the presidency on the same person. Reports that are completely diametrically opposed to one another in terms of the content of each of these reports. So this is, what I mean by, dysfunctionality. On the other hand, they are saying this man is eminently qualified to run the EFCC, and at the same time, the same department, the same organization is saying that this man is totally unworthy to run the EFCC. And so we are not surprised really today that this is happening. And unfortunately, it would appear that perhaps if the president has stepped in long before now, some of these things that are now, these unwholesome stories that we're hearing that have not made their way into the public space, perhaps would have been avoided, earlier, before now.
And let me just ask you, because his suspension has neither been confirmed nor denied, not to preempt the outcome of this presidential investigation panel, but do you think that Mr. Magu should resign, step aside?
Well, I mean, the essence of, I think it is ethical, I mean, for a man that is being investigated not to sit, I mean, in his office because of the possibility of tampering with whatever evidence that might be built, that might be used to build against him. So I think it is the natural thing to do, that he steps aside, allows the investigation to go on, and then if at the end of the day nothing is found against him, he can be cleared. But what I see ultimately at the end of the day is that something has to give between him and Malami. Malami, it seems to be on the ascendancy now, because if you notice the way this thing went, the DSS has denied the fact that he was arrested, but the reality is that he went to that panel at Aso Rock clearly against his wishes. He was not informed, he was intercepted on the road and taken straight for a panel sitting. Clearly the panel had been primed, they had been briefed, they knew what they were expecting, that he was going to be brought in. You know, so minds to some extent had already, you know, been made up. Perhaps it's just about, you know, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Maybe that's what, you know, they are trying to do at this particular point in time.
All right, many thanks to you. Talking about Achike Chude, talking about public affairs analyst, for helping us with the Ibrahim Magu gate at the moment.